What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's review I'm going to be taking a look at the Transformers Earthrise Sleep Mode Optimus Prime, also known as the Dead Optimus Prime or an alternate universe Optimus Prime. Essentially what this is just a simple repaint of the previously released Earthrise Leader Class Optimus Prime, however done in a brand new paint deco, as well as this time a different component to Optimus Prime's head sculpt. So you can see here that for the most part this is exactly the same as what you would expect with that of your standard Leader Class Earthrise Optimus Prime. We do get the trailer, we get the blaster, and of course we get the main cab section of Optimus. Just setting the trailer off to the side for now, we'll very quickly take a look at the details in vehicle mode. I really do love how much silver paint this figure does indeed have applied to him. Really nice, and I'm actually a really big fan of the grey plastic that they've used as well. It's not a really dull grey, it's actually quite a vibrant grey, and definitely does set it apart from the previous release. Of course, we've got all of the same details that we did also have on the previous release. The Autobot insignia on this side, and all of the hubcaps have been painted in a nice silver. We flip to the underside, and they have in fact painted the back of Optimus's legs. However, once again, we'll delve more into that when we take a look at him in robot mode. He rolls really nicely, as you would expect this mold to roll. This is a really good mold, so to get a second edition of this in a new color scheme, I was definitely all up for it. And it's something which we haven't seen Hasbro do for a very long time, I believe since they did that Sleep Mode Masterpiece Optimus Prime a few years ago. So this is definitely quite nice. Just removing the blaster so I can give you a closer look at that. You can see that this time it has been decked out in a really nice silver paint. I would have rather them have used perhaps a more darker colour scheme to match more the base colour of the actual Optimus. This is a little bit more vibrant than perhaps I would have liked it to have been, but nonetheless some really nice silver paint details on there. Setting both of these figures off to the side and taking a look at the trailer, you can see that the trailer is also really nice. It's been done in a little bit more of a darker plastic. It's almost a beige-like colour. Not a really dark beige, but there is definitely a hue to the plastic which isn't entirely a lighter grey. You can see that we do have the really nice Autobot insignia. Flipping it to the underside, this whole section here has been cast in a black plastic, and once again we still have the stand section. In order to open the trailer, it's exactly the same as the previous version, so you can see we've got all of the nice details there, and I guess you could call this Optimus Prime's deathbed. I will show you that later on in the review. And once again we do have this anti-gravity droid, which looks really nice, and it's also got some nice details, and the arms have this time been molded in a black plastic. So just set that off to the side for now and just show you how it looks with the trailer installed. So really nice, and it does roll rather smoothly as well. For a quick comparison, here we have the new Dead Optimus Prime compared next to the standard Optimus Prime, and I really do like the color difference between these two figures. You can see that this one definitely does look as if though Optimus has had the life completely drained out of him, whereas of course the original version was a lot more vibrant. The newer version is definitely a lot duller and definitely does look slightly more depressing. If I just give you a front view perspective and then compare these from the top, just so you can see how these two here look from a side perspective. Seeing as how enjoyable this version of Optimus is to transform, I will run through the transformation of this figure for you. And I have noticed that some of the joints on this figure do feel slightly less tight than on the original version, which is to be expected from a second version of a mold. But most of the panels do tab in still rather nicely. It's just a few limbs, such as the legs, which are just ever so slightly looser than on the previous version. So just pull these arms out and then collapse this section down, lift this piece up, and then pull this section away. And flipping out the newly designed head, and just collapse that section down, tab this into place, and then we can come to the back and tab that into place. Rotate this piece around, which I have noticed on this version is a lot more solidified than on the previous version. On the previous version, it consistently wanted to pop off. This one I've had no issues with whatsoever. So this is actually an element which has been tightened with this second release. And then just folding the hands out is rather simplistic as well. And once all that is done, here we have Sleep Mode Optimus Prime fully transformed up into his robot mode. Definitely not looking as alive as his original counterpart. And so here we have the dead version of Optimus Prime fully transformed up into his robot mode, and I've got to say that for the most part, This is a really nice repaint, and I'm so glad that Hasbro did in fact pick this one up and picked to actually do this repaint. This has been a repaint that we haven't seen for many years, and quite honestly was one that I wasn't expecting whatsoever. In terms of moulding, there are no changes done to the actual body. The only mould changes are to do with the head sculpt. Now you can see here that the actual front section of the head is completely unchanged. It's actually this back section. You can see here where this seam is. They've actually removed that section and put on a newly moulded piece in order to give you the broken eared look, which I think looks really nice. And you can see that the mouth guard is just cracked via some paint apps. So just to give you a 360 look at that, you can see that it's really battle damaged and very dinged up. And even on the back of the head sculpt, there is also some really nice detailing as well, so that's super cool to see. And then this antennae or ear is a lot more damaged than the opposite side, but I think that they've done a really nice job. And once again, the paint apps here for the mouth guard are really crisp, and the eyes have been painted in a black paint, obviously to give you the illusion that Optimus Prime is sadly no longer with us. You can see that gone are the very vibrant blue paint apps behind the front window section. These have been replaced with a more greyish colour scheme, and I just think that the overall colour scheme on this definitely does look really nice. You can see that the hands have been picked out in a more glossy black paint apps. And then as we turn down, we've got that grey with the beige hue in it as well for the lower torso, and some black paint apps there. And then as we turn down to the legs, the silver paint apps here for the shins and for the rims, but the rest of the figure is cast in a black plastic. And then as we turn around to the back, they have in fact painted the backs of his legs black as well, which I think is a really nice attention to detail. So definitely a really nice looking figure. In terms of the matrix of leadership, you can open this up, and you can see that this time too, they have also altered the colour scheme. I'm glad that they actually did keep the Matrix centre blue, as of course the Matrix doesn't die with Optimus Prime. It of course lives on and goes to Hot Rod, or as he is soon to be known as Rodimus Prime, bringing in the original version, the more vibrant coloured version, and just cracking open his chest. You can see that the difference in paint there, it's still silver, however definitely a lot more of a lighter silver than on the previous release, and we do have a more yellowish paint application behind the actual Matrix. If I just remove that, you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So that definitely looks really nice, and of course you can just plug the Matrix back in there and keep that shut. Bringing the head sculpts in for a comparison, you can see that the actual front of the head is exactly the same as the previous release. You can see this because the front antennae are untouched, whereas the back ones where this back piece does attach are now damaged and broken. I would have perhaps have liked it if they could have given us an entirely new head sculpt, so we could have perhaps had some alterations to the eyes, making them look a little bit more hysterical, and of course having perhaps some battle damage done to the front of the face that isn't just painted on, that is moulded. I think could have greatly accentuated the sculpt, but as it stands, definitely a really nice looking repaint. And then just bringing in his blaster, you can compare the colours there between the silver version and the darker version that we got with the original release. Very quickly giving you a rundown of the articulation. It is exactly the same as the previous version, so the head is on a ball joint, so it can look left to right, up and down, as well as side to side ever so slightly. The arms can rotate the full 360 as well as hinge out to the sides. Full 360 rotation just above the elbow, 90-degree bend at the elbow, and a full 360-degree rotation at the wrist. This figure has the capability of actually articulating his hands, which is super nice. We also do get a rotation here at the waist, however it is slightly compromised due to the back kibble. The leg can kick forwards that far as well as back that far, as well as to the splits. Full 360-degree rotation at the thigh, as well as a well over 90-degree bend at the knee. We also do have an ankle rocker joint, and due to transformation you could pivot these toes forwards and backwards. So overall for articulation, I think that it's fantastic for a modern day Transformer figure. And just for a very quick comparison, here we have both of the trailers of both releases of Optimus fully open, just so you can see the colour variation. I actually really do like the black section here for the centre, and I think that this version would have greatly benefited from having that type of differentiation from the colour scheme. But definitely very different in terms of their colour schemes. You can see what I was talking about in regards to the more beige hue that the trailer does sport than the lighter grey colour scheme that it initially presents itself as, but you can definitely here see the differences between the two. And then just quickly giving you a comparison from a different perspective, here we have both versions of Optimus Prime, and you can definitely see once again how much more drained of life this newer version looks than the very vibrant previous version, as it really should do. I'm just so surprised that Hasbro and Takara did bring this version out, as I honestly had no idea and wouldn't have guessed that this would have been a repaint that they would have in fact done. I would have imagined them to have perhaps done a Nemesis Prime, but definitely not a dead version of Optimus, but I am glad that we have that nonetheless, as it's something completely different from anything that we have got in previous years. And then just a side view profile one last time. Definitely really drastic difference in colour scheme, and I'm all for having both of these on the display. So that was my review on the Transformers Earthrise Leader Class Sleep Mode Optimus Prime, also known as an alternate universe Optimus Prime, just as I don't believe that they're actually going to kill him off in this Siege trilogy, or as he's probably most commonly known as, the dead version of Optimus. Personally, as I've stated throughout this review, I think that this is a really nice repaint. This is something that I don't think anyone actually expected Hasbro and Takara to bring out, and once again I'm so glad that they did, as this is a figure that I haven't got any form of in my collection. I don't have any versions of a dead Optimus Prime, so to get this is really nice, and I do think that the remolded back of the head really does set this figure apart from the previous release. Of course, the new colour scheme greatly sets it apart as well. If I had any criticisms, it would be the fact that I wish that perhaps they had remolded other pieces to be slightly battle damaged. It would have been nice if they could have perhaps replaced one of these doors with a battle damaged piece, just so that perhaps there was a piece missing out of it, or if they could have actually done what they've done here with the mouth guard and actually painted on some various cracks perhaps to this region here, or perhaps had the gun looking slightly more damaged. Just a little bit more weathering effect and a little bit more damage present in the actual robot mode would have been nice, but as it stands as a novelty figure, which I honestly believe this to be, I think that it's a really nice entry into the Earthrise line, and once again, if you're an Optimus Prime collector, you're going to want to pick this figure up. So I really hope that you enjoyed my review. If you did, please let me know down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.